I'll make a new Java project known as day6, or rather let's work in this only. Okay, I'll make a new class called as test BBC, right? And in this class I'll have an @test annotation, fine, public void test homepage, right? Suppose this is the test function, so I'll write over here Webdriver driver equals to new Firefox driver, and this will open up a Firefox, fine. And I have to include the Selenium jar files in this project. You have to include the jar files of Selenium which you downloaded, and you include them, right? Fine. You write over here driver dot get the website http bbc.com. Now the thing is, always mention the protocol. Never ever forget to mention the protocol. Otherwise this will not start. Fine. Now suppose if I physically if I open a browser and I go to bbc.com, right? So now suppose I want to verify what's the text, something like say I want to verify this link, whether this link is present or not. Fine. So what I can do is I can use Firebug out here and get the XPath of this link. Fine. Just a minute, guys. I think I'll open up a different profile. And hold on. Yeah. Fine. So it is opening now, and suppose I want to test this link whether China manufacturing in rebound is there or not. So this is the XPath of the link. Now XPath of the link has got no text, right? XPath has got no text. So even the link changes tomorrow, the XPath will remain same. That's the beauty of XPath. So I'll copy the XPath and I'll write over here driver dot find element by the XPath. This is the XPath dot get the text. Fine. Get the text of the link, capture the text in a string, say X. Fine. And then fire an assertion. You can write assert dot assert equals, fine. Okay, by mistake I imported junit.framework.assert. Make sure you don't import junit_assert class. Make sure you always import the assert class from TestNg. This one, the third one. Okay, and then give the expected and the actual value. Expected value is, the actual value is X. Expected value is the name of the link, right? Okay, but you know this website is changing constantly. Tomorrow some other link can be present on this news, right? If I run this now, it will work. This will work for sure. If I am running this, hold on. hold on. If I run this test will okay, if I am running this, you will see that this link has actually changed. Fine. So every time I run the script, the link changes. If I refresh the page now, hold on, I think I got it wrong. Yeah, earlier this link was over here, but now when the script runs, the position of this link has changed. It's gone down, okay, but it's still present. But out here, this is the XPath. On this particular XPath, the new link has come up. So how do I handle this kind of scenario? So we will talk about this kind of scenario as well, right? Maybe you can connect to database and pull out the link from there. Obviously the link would be coming from somewhere, right? Maybe the database or something. Or you can put the expected link which has to come in an Excel file. You can change that Excel file again and again, changing the expected link, and from the Excel file you can keep the link over here. So you cannot hard code the expected stuff out here. That's the main thing I want to explain to you. Right now, what I'll do is in my tesng.xml, I will also include this particular file so that in the end this test also runs. That is BBC variable link, right? It's in test cases dot test bbc. Now there are various scenarios which can happen. Like this is just one of the scenarios. I am finding the element with this particular XPath, right? Now there are scenarios wherein two elements have same ID. What will you do? Okay. Or for example, you have a scenario wherein you have to dynamically choose the object. What do I mean by dynamically choosing the object? A scenario like this, that is, suppose you go to the site makemytrip.com, okay, and say I want to go on an international holiday. Fine. And on the next page, fine, I select that I want to fly from, say, in India from Mumbai, and I want to go to say Australia. I search for holidays, and every day the packages which the site is going to offer me are going to change. Fine. But suppose the test case says that I want to select the most cheapest package out of all these packages. I want to select the most cheapest. Now the most cheapest package will also change every day. So a scenario like this in which the objects are dynamically changing and you have to dynamically choose the object. Fine. And another scenario is like you have got variable IDs many times. A scenario like this, that is, you go to facebook.com. Okay, suppose I am on Facebook, right? And on Facebook you have this button over here, the login button. If you look at the XPath of this login button, this is the XPath of this login button. I'll just put it down in a notepad. This is the XPath of the login button. Fine. Now the problem arises if I close this browser and if I open it again. I go to facebook.com, and if I look at the button again, it's got this XPath this time. The XPath is changing if you look at it carefully. These four words are different. the ID is changing. So that means every time I go to facebook.com, I'll get a different ID. And this is the case in the complete Facebook. This is the case in complete Facebook. That is, your all IDs and all, they keep on changing. So you have got these kinds of scenarios as well, right? And you have got the scenario like this in which the object changes. Like this one in which the link changed. We have put an assertion on this link, but the link, it keeps on changing. So as we proceed with the course, I will be taking up all these scenarios and many others as well, so that we can have a clear look at how to work with these kind of things, right? So now let's focus a little bit on TestNg first. Let's see how to build the test cases, generate the reports and all, some dummy things, and then we will take up Selenium again, right? So this was just a small kind of a demo kind of example which just gave you an insight on what kind of problems you can face when you are actually using TestNg along with Selenium, right? Now, okay, now out here okay, fine, that's other thing, right? So now out here, if I run testng.xml, if I right click on testng.xml and run it as test suite, this will again execute all the test cases, and in the end it will also execute the BBC one. So you see that the browser will open for the last test because BBC was also included out here, and it executes. Fine. Now the thing is, what if I want to execute the same test through AND? Or if your manager says that fine, go on a command prompt and execute the whole test suite through testng.xml, how will you do that? Okay, for that we use a tool known as AND. AND is a build and compile tool which helps you to run the program Selenium scripts through command prompt. Okay, AND is not just for Selenium, it's got many other purposes as well, but we can use it with Selenium to run the project through command prompt. Why do we need to run it through command prompt is because many times, okay, many times you will face a situation in which you want to log in into a Unix based server and you want to execute the scripts through the Unix based server or a Linux based server, right? So at that time you will require AND. Fine. So to work with AND, right, the first thing is that you need to download AND. AND is something like Eclipse. Eclipse has got a user interface. It helps you to execute the project or the commands through Windows. Fine. AND it's got no user interface. It works only on command prompt. It does the same thing which Eclipse does. It executes your programs, but on command prompt. Okay, so first of all, what I'll do is I'll download AND. These things I'm teaching you, this is very important because when I'm going to make a data driven, a hybrid, a keyword driven framework, you will be requiring this. Okay, you will be requiring this when I make the framework. So I'll download the AND. First of all, I'll go to Apache AND binary distributions and I'll download AND from here. This is the zip archive. You can click on this and you can download it. I already have it on my machine. This is the one. Okay, if you open this, you will have all these files and all. Once you extract the zip file, you'll get this folder. There is no exe file for AND. Okay, you just need to copy this location of AND on your machine, right, and go to my computer and go to the properties of my computer. You'll get a window like this. In Windows 7 operating system, you might not get a window like this. There will be a link over here. When you go to my computer properties, you will get a link somewhere out here saying advanced system properties or something like that. When you click on this, that link, you will get a window like this. Okay, in this window you click on advanced. Okay, and then click on environment variables button over here. Okay, we click on environment variable buttons. In the system variables, right, in the system variables out here, you have to add a new variable. Click on new button over here and add a new variable ant underscore home and paste the path of ant, the place where you have kept the ant folder. Fine, this is first thing, right? Second thing is that you need to scroll down and go to this path variable, edit the path variable, go to the end of this variable, put a semicolon, put a semicolon and give the path of the ant folder followed by /bin. You need to give the path of the bin folder of ant out here. Okay, so click on OK, and that's it. That's it. Ant is configured on your machine. Fine. Now if you open up command prompt and just type ant, many of you will get this error message saying that unable to locate tools.jar. If you don't get this message, then that means ant is configured. You will get a message that build.xml does not exist in that case. But most of you guys will have this error message saying that tools.jar is not existing. Now tools.jar is a jar file which ant tries to find under program files Java JRE7. Wait a minute, I'll tell you. Go to your program files, go to Java, the installation directory of Java. In this, there is a JRE folder, and tries to find a file known as, a jar file known as tools.jar inside JRE lib, and it is not able to find that file tools.jar at this location. The thing is that that jar file is actually lying under JDK. Okay, under the JDK folder library. In this, it is lying at the location, this location, tools.jar. So you copy the file from here, go back, go to JRE, go to library and paste the file here. If you don't find this file on your machine, you can just Google it out. You can download it, it's quite easy, it's present on the net as well. Now, if I go back to command prompt and type ant over here, you will get the message build.xml does not exist. Build failed. Okay, so this means ant is rightly configured. Okay, now we need to make this file build.xml. Build.xml is the heart of ant. It tells ant everything. For example, how do you tell Eclipse? How do you tell Eclipse where the jar files are lying? You go to the properties of Eclipse, go to libraries and tell Eclipse that find add the jars from here. Okay, so right, Eclipse as a tool, fine, it converts the Java files into class files and it keeps the class files corresponding to the Java files under the bin directory of your project. In the bin directory, Eclipse will keep all the class files corresponding to Java files. So how do you tell ant where do you have to keep the class files? So all this information about the jars, about the classes, about project execution and all, everything is kept under a single file known as build.xml in ant. Fine. So now I'll take the build.xml file from another project and I will keep this build.xml file under the current project, not in the source folder, but under the current project, build.xml. Okay, now this is a very big file. It's got a lot of things in it. So gradually I'll proceed and I'll tell you what all of these things are. First line says project name. The name of the file is learning testing. Right. The second line says there are various properties. Okay, the first property is ws.home, the second is ws.jar, test.destination, test.source, ng-result. I know what are these properties. The property name ws.home value is $dir. This means that the current workspace, right? The current workspace, that is the current directory in which build.xml is lying, is your workspace home. That is, this particular project is your workspace home. Fine. The second property is ws.jar. That means the workspace jar, the location where you are keeping all the jar files. I have kept all the jar files in a common location in C drive, temp, jars folder or in my PC. In this path, I have kept all the Selenium jars and all everything. Okay, so I will keep the path like this. So we tell Ant that the jar files are lying at this particular location, and this is my project. Right? I'll come over to this property test.destination. What does it mean? I'll come over to this, but first look at the property test.source. This means that where the Java files are lying. So I tell Eclipse that the Java files are lying under the workspace home in a folder called source folder. That's right, because under the workspace, under the source folder, my Java files are lying. Workspace home represents my current directory in which build.xml is lying. That's my workspace, right? ng.result variable tells you that where the test ng results are stored, right? These are stored in the test output folder. This is the test output folder, right? Okay. Now about the test.destination target. This target tells Eclipse, this target tells Ant where to store all the class files corresponding to Java files. For example, I just told you in Eclipse the class files are stored under the bin folder, right? So in Ant, the class files will be stored under a folder called build under the workspace. In the workspace there will be a folder build in which all the class files will be stored. I'll tell you how this thing happens. There are various targets in this file. For example, a target called compile. First I will tell you how, I'll show you how this works, and then I'll tell you what is written inside it. The first thing which I need to do is that to make this thing work with Ant, you need to go to the location of your project on the command prompt. On the command prompt, go to the location where the project is lying. Actually what I am doing is I am going to the location where build.xml is lying, because build.xml is directly lying under the project. Okay, and out here type Ant. When I type Ant, I get the message Ant will execute the test. That means everything is fine. It's able to find build.xml file. Fine. Now there are various targets. One of the target name is compile. So when I fire this target from command prompt, I have to write Ant space compile. That's it. So it will compile the project, and in the end you will get a message name called build successful, provided you have the right set of jar files in the location jars. You need to make sure that you are putting all the jar files of Selenium and all at this location, otherwise it will give you an error. Fine. Now after compiling out here, if I refresh my project, I'll get a build folder. Okay, in this folder you will see that class files corresponding to Java files have been kept. These were my Java files, right? So correspondingly class files are kept. This is because of test.destination in property whose value is set to build folder. That means the class files will be going inside the build folder. And if you look at the compile target, what it is doing, right? It first fires the delete command. It deletes the directory test.destination if it is existing. That means if the build folder is existing, delete the folder, right? Then mkdir, that means make directory, make the folder test.destination, right? Make the folder test.destination and compile the whole project. Okay, compile the complete project after making test.destination, right? So what I was saying was this target over here called as the compile target. Okay, this is responsible to compile your project. That means that to convert the class file, Java files to class files, right? You really don't have to change anything in this complete file except the path of the Java files. That's it. Okay, when you get this file, you don't have to change anything in this. Fine. There's another target known as the clean target. Okay, if you fire the command over here and clean, what this target does is it deletes the directory test.destination. So it will delete build folder. So when you run this, the build folder would gone. If you refresh the project, the build folder will be gone. Fine. There's another target called run. This will run the test based on the file testing.xml. Fine. So if I fire over here and compile, before running you need to compile, you need to convert the Java files to class files. So if you refresh it, the class files would be there. Now if you fire the target and run, this will run the project. Okay, this will give you the same output which you used to get in Eclipse. See, the same output you will get out here, and it will also open Mozilla. See that it will go to BBC. The last test was having some WebDriver code in it. Fine, and hold on. Right. The only thing is that you will not get the Eclipse results. You will not get the results over here because this is Eclipse and this is AND. In AND it will tell you that total run 10 test cases were run. There were 1 failures and 2 skips. Right. The results would actually be present out here. If you refresh this thing, the results would be present in the test output folder in this one, in your index.html. The HTML reports would be given by AND. You see that? These are the HTML reports. This is based on the older version, right? But you know what? We will be making better reports. We will be making TestNg XSLT reports. That report looks something like this, right? So we will make that report. So how do I make that report out here? Basically it's quite easy. It's divided into steps. The first step is that whosoever made TestNg XSLT reports, he asked everybody that you should be putting this XSLT package inside your source folder. Inside the source folder, put the XSLT package. This XSLT package has got this TestNg results.xsl file. Don't try to understand what this contains. It contains all the look and feel concepts and look and feel code, the UI code for the reports. Fine. And what TestNg XSLT reports they do, they read the existing report. Okay, they read the existing report and they just build a good report on top of it. Okay, So how do I do that? As I told you, there is a step involved. That means you need to copy this XSLT package here, and in my build.xml I have another target called make XSLT reports. Fine. So all I need to do is that these reports will be made under this directory, under the workspace home XSLT reports. All I need to do is that after running the test, once the normal TestNg reports are present, fine, I need to fire the target and make XSLT reports. And when you hit enter, it says that build successful out here. If you refresh your project, you will see an XSLT reports folder. Inside this you will have index.html. You can open this index.html in the browser and you will see reports like this. You don't really have to do any rocket science. It's not a rocket science, nothing like that. Okay, you just need to have the right set of jar files at the location. You need to have the XSLT over here. And it is nothing, it's all configuration. It is all configuration, it is nothing. Fine. So make sure that you have the right set of jar files under this location. You need some jar files for XSLT reports as well. I will give you those jar files after the class. Selenium jar files will not do anything. Along with it, make sure that testng.jar, I will give you this jar file after the class. This is also present in your jars folder. Okay, so make sure that following jar files, they are existing in your jars folder. One is Selenium jar files, one is testng.jar, and another jar file is for XSLT reports. I will give you all these jar files, these two jar files after the class, right? So for generating XSLT reports, make sure you have kept this folder and you have the XSLT report jars, which I will give you after class, right? And you just have to run this target. Okay, so I'll repeat again what all I did. I first opened command prompt, right? So I'll just open a notepad and I'll also create an exe file to execute the test. I'll create a bat file, right? I opened the command prompt and then I gave the command E drive. I moved to E drive. Then I went to the location where the project is lying. The project is lying at this location. So cd this location. In my notepad as well, I'll make this command cd this location. Then I fired the commands and compile, run and make XSLT reports. That's it. So if I save this text file, on desktop as project.bat in double quotes. I've written it in double quotes. So this will be stored as a bat file. If you look at the desktop, this would be the kind of file which we would be getting. Many of you might have seen this kind of file. It's an exe file. When you run this, the project will start executing. And it's this is very handy in frameworks. To make a framework and then you make a bat file and execute the complete framework with bat. You can, like, even if you give it to some non-technical guy to run the framework, he can run it. He can change the contents, the data in the Excel files and all, which we will study later on, right? How to put the data in the Excel files, and he can execute it, and in the end, he will have the XSLT reports also generated under this folder, right? So this is how you can execute your project through an exe file. You just have to give all the commands in a text notepad and save that notepad in double quotes as a bat file. Okay, right?